Welcome to Woodturning with Dick. I got the last section of that plank of yew that I got from Surrey Timbers. Now, let me just quickly show you the other side. Yeah, a lot of very mouldy, loose bits of wood. All this as well, look at it. That goes down quite a ways. Yeah, bit furry, bit nasty. And I've been thinking, what can I make out of it? I can make bowls. Flipping it back over, look at these gorgeous purples in there. I love it. But what I was thinking, if I take I don't know if you can see the line that I've made already. I take that section out there of this piece, all the natural bark, and here, and make a big circular wall hanging piece. Turn a bowl in this section here, not gild it, because I've got another plan for the riverbed itself that will incorporate some gilding and some resin and some colour shift mica powder. So that you've got to look forward to in this video. Got an offcut the same height so I get the circle right. So there's my circle. Gonna mark that in pencil quickly. There's one part. And there, you can see that semicircle is another part. Let's get rid of this bark. It's quite loose in there. That'll make a nice feature. There it is at the moment. There's the bowl. You can't really see it very well, but that's where it's going to be. Not going to clean these surfaces up just yet. I'm going to leave all these little kind of trees, roots, I don't know what you're going to call them, in the riverbed. So as well as gluing that on, I glued on an offcut and put on the top as the barrier. So I can turn through that to make my bowl, and that'll have my barrier for when I'm pouring resin. Trimmed a lump off that corner, a little lump off that corner, so it'll actually rotate past the bed on my lathe. Weighted wise, that big chunk has made it quite even. This is the first spin up. I put the rest in place, I bolted that up really tight. I'm going to turn this on and stand well back, and then check all the glue joins and the chuck grip and everything else. That's not bad. It's like an aeroplane. The lathe's not moving much. No pull away on the glue on the back. So, yeah, let's get turning. It is like a big aeroplane. The amount of wind coming off of it is kind of cray-cray. And they can't see it brilliantly well, but that's pretty good in terms of a round. I think I'm going to sand the rest rather than risk coming down too far with the chisel. I really don't know exactly how much room I've got left, and I don't want to push it. I've sanded that to 320 grit because I'm going to Yorkshire grit it. This top surface is going to be finished to, like, I don't know, 1000 grit or so. So I'm going to Yorkshire grit and then use the ultra fine and then wax it. But just to quickly show you this, the sander sealer, just to see the colour come to life. Got a lovely vein of kind of dark brown purple over that side running through there. Rather pleased with. I like the way the sapwood dips down on this inside edge. That's trimmed up nice and square. Now I've knocked together a little frame so that this all fits in nicely. Just slightly higher than the piece, obviously. Got a couple of spaces for this end. I'll show you why in a moment. A couple of spaces in there as well. I've also cleaned up the bark Not brilliantly, I've just taken any loose particles off and dirt, a little bit of sanding, not much at all. I want to leave it as natural as possible because it's going to become very unnatural. Clean this side up as well. I'm going to leave all of these kind of little windswept trees and sharp bits and all sorts. I'll leave all that in there. I've left a gap down here so the resin can seep round and get in there, because that rotten bit under there goes into about here. And that should be resin tight. I am going to line the outside. So 2 secs. With our spacers in place, a block, not of similar height, but a little bit higher, you can see where my circle is going to be. And it's going to come just inside the bark there, just inside the bark here, and just inside the bark here and here. Bosh. Right, next is pouring some black resin. Resin's dry, lovely. Filled that hole that was in there. I've taken a while selecting rocks that I want to use. I think an arrangement something like that, because I'm envisaging the water flowing this way, mainly because the what would look like a tree that's been water swept, there's been a flood, it's coming over this way. All of these branches that normally stick up growing on the tree are swaying this way. So yeah, I could position those perfectly where I want them later, but initially, get that out of the way, I've got myself some DAS modelling clay, and my plan is to make a riverbed, the flow of water. Nothing spectacular, it doesn't need to be OTT, it's simply going to be ridges mimicking the outside of this and then curving around the stones as you go, like this. I'm a wood turner, not a model worker. Look at this. I'll see if I can find some glue, spray glue in my workshop. I'm just going to give that a quick coat of spray glue. If not, I'm going to have to mix some water with some PVA glue and just wipe it on, and it'll help seal the clay for when I put the paint on next, once it's dried. I've used 50% PVC and water and wiped that on 24 hours ago. I'm now going to paint it all black. So I'll put it on time lapse for you. I've mixed together a small amount of resin, as small as I kind of could do in this pot, all for this number 4 colour shift mica powder. Now there's not a lot in there, but it does go a long way, the mica powder, as I've known from other pieces I've been making recently. Basically making up a paint here. So I'm going to just put a heaped spoon or quarter spoon, or like a half, maybe a bit more, just for extra luck. That'll do. Now the colour shift in this, you can see on the lid a bit, all over my fingers now, look. Let's mix that in. Now the colour shift is great, but apparently looks very cool on black background, hence the black I've done. At the moment, it's looking very white. Lenore has just done something brilliant for me. She has gilded some stones. That was lovely. They're all lovely. Next is to pour some resin, and I'm going to put a little tiny bit of the mica powder, a drop. The resin is a tiny bit cloudy. That resin will be a lot clearer next time you see it. Not a bubble in the middle there, that's just one of the ridges sticking up. I mean, it looks a lot deeper than it is. So, do you know what? I'm going to go with one more pour. Yeah. 3 days later, it's gone lovely and clear. Just before I do the last pour, it's all gone off lovely and clear. I'm going to put a piece of wood across here because I want to mount this on the lathe to make it round. Obviously, I'm going to cut it on the bandsaw first. I was saving this for French cleats, but I've got some more beech, so it's not really a problem. About there, let's have a little measure. About there. It's almost middle of the board. Good enough, maybe. That's better. Right, about there. I'm going to glue that on that end and that end, and then the resin's also going to glue to it. So hopefully that'll be secure enough, and then put on the chuck. There you go, surface scratched up. That's fine. The resin will pour into any little scratch marks. I've hoovered all that out, and a little dab of glue both ends. Not a lot, because I don't want it spilling into the piece, obviously. So just going to pop that on there and on there. Just make sure that glue's not spilling into the piece anywhere near. No, it's not. And it's just a dab either end. As I say, the resin will bond it to there to hold on for the chuck. At least I hope so anyway. We'll let that little seesaw go off, and then tomorrow I'll pour the final layer of resin. Yay! It's a little more blue from the top, but you catch it at an angle. It's purple, sort of cream. The side, it's purple. Cream from the steep angle, and blue from the top angle. I'll try and keep all these little bits of clay within the resin. That's my point. A little bit off my original estimate, but I don't mind. Let's cut this bad boy up. First off, I need to take this outside off. Mark up this piece of wood just outside the boundaries of the ring. Then I can position it evenly in the right place. The line help me. Now I'm going to cut it. Huzzah! We have an almost round thing. I've got a bit of a problem because there's a lot of resin over one side, wood over the other. There's a bowl. It's very off balance. There's the stones in there as well, not to forget. If I just give it a spin like this, you'll see that's quite a way off balance. There's a lot of weight down the bottom there. So, with a bit of wood screwed onto the rim of the bowl there, so the screw comes down almost to the U. It's got 4 points holding it on, and it just misses the motor by about 1/4 of an inch, which is plenty. I'll show you how balanced it is now. You ready? Look at that. Genius. Now I can take down this outside edge. I just want to get a nice flat surface. Nice flat and square. nothing special. So I'm going to come in from one side, going to come in from the other side, and then sand it flat. I could finish that on the lathe, make it nice and flat, sand it all, make it all nice and beautiful, but it's nice and flat. The sides are nice and round. So it's back from being sanded, or running through my mate's massive drum sander, and I've drilled a couple of holes in the top there, and a couple of holes in the bottom for my French cleats. There's nice thin ones on this one. They'll screw in there and screw in there, and that will hold it nice and flat on the wall. Going to give that a quick once over with some like 120 grit, just to get rid of these sanding lines. Nothing really special. I should have perhaps run it through a few more times, but that's quite thin. I didn't want to get that too thin where the clay sits on top of that black, and it's the back. It really doesn't matter. Need to put my maker's mark on there and a piece number, and I'm going to cover that in wax just to seal it all in. And now the important side. The cloth just helps it not to move when I'm sanding it. So, there we are, once it's been through the sander. Got a few little air bubbles at the top here that were sat underneath the piece of the wood that was going across, wherever it was going across, I can't remember now. But they should come out when I'm sanding, I hope. Okay, fine, I am going to go with an absolute clear glass finish, because the pebbles look amazing, the resin looks amazing, the glitter looks amazing. It's a lot going on. It's a very busy piece. But those colours that I'm seeing, you're not yet. You will in a minute. I will rotate it for you so you can see it better. But it's just shocking. So just to show you the size, 20 inches. That's what it looks like. And hopefully you can see the colour difference there. I twist it that way and that way. There's a blue, there's some light purple, and there's some dark purple in there somewhere. Just need a box now. This one right here will do. There we go. Slide that in there and lid on. See you all again soon.